Yeah,
So we put that there intentionally.
that was a weird.
I don't. Put it that way.
Well, isn't that the one that got run off the road? Or that's the person that ran the white car off the road?
Correct. Yes. Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So he hit the car that went into the in front of the Legia's building.
Yeah.
Morning.
50 days of skiing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think 75 is going to be hard to get to.
yeah. This year.
Oh, because I've got so much skiing going on that's planned that I can't get out of. So
It's a good problem to have,
yeah,
right?
I think so. I don't know if my knees agree. In a lot of pain.
Do we
I
have?
told Wally, if I
Yes.
get up every day and I'm
Oh,
starting to blow my hair and it's coming out in my comb.
Yes.
I said,
Payment
I'm saving it in a box.
I finally got a hold of the guy yesterday from
Oh, okay.
Funny. I called and left him
As
a
I
message.
progress, my hairline will recess.
Did you
some
send
of the
me an
hair.
email or something on this? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I called you
Oh.
a week ago after what? Oh, that's. No problem. He sent me his email and he's not the guy,
Oh.
but he has the team that does it.
Oh.
We're gonna, I sent him the email. It's supposed to get back to him. I told him I'd add this and we could add specific
Yeah.
power.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Up is on. There you go.
It is. Further.
Testing, 1, 2.
Testing.
Hello.
Nobody.
Huh, wasn't me. No, we can use hand gesture.
Boy.
It wasn't a Tesla, was it? I see that.
You see the smoke from here.
I saw that on the news this morning. I thought they're really having fun with these rigs. There we go. We're on.
Oh. Not yet. I gotta write something down.
Redenbacher?
Huh?
Aaron Redenbacher.
Oh, okay.
Are we recording? We're set?
When you are.
Okay. Good morning. Works. Welcome to the March 19th, 2025 Sweet Home Park and Tree Committee meeting. At this time, if we could stand, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time, can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. Scott Swanson,
Here.
Matthew Bechtel,
Here.
Lena Tucker, present Wally Shreves,
Here.
Bob Dalton,
Here.
Deborah Northern,
Here.
Nancy Patton. Have a quorum.
Great, thank you. If anybody has any time reports for since the last meeting, please email those to Angela so we have a hard copy of them.
Yeah, if anyone was out at the tree planting, make sure you account for that time and send it to me.
Okay. Let's move on to the meeting minutes. Please review last month's, and I'll need a motion and a second.
I move that we accept our meeting minutes from last month.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Meeting minutes are approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, if there's any public comment out there. Oh, Pink Floyd song. Is there anybody
out
out there? Nope. All right, let's move on. Whoops, I'm looking at the wrong one. To our beautification committee update.
Okay, am I on? All right. Our committee has met twice. We met in January and March. We did not meet in February because of the bad weather. Patty Hulk, who was the chairman last year, has stepped down and I've taken her place. I'm Candace Snyder. At our meeting, I have ordered the flowers for the median strip, and we plan to weed and add soil to the median strip on April 22nd. And then the other big day is May 13th. We're going to plant the flowers on the median. We also have dates for planting in Clover Park, Shea Point, and Highway 228. We're working on all kinds of details to try to get word out that we need more volunteers. The more volunteers we have, the better things go when we're trying to weed and plant. And we are not ordering quite as many petunias this year as we did last year. We're trying to kind of downsize that for the with the shrubs there. We didn't want to, overpower them. The blooms are bigger. They're not the miniature ones. So they are bigger blooms, but there will be a little bit less. And we're going to plant the flowers a little farther apart. I did find out from Sean Morgan that they're putting the pinwheels, the child abuse pinwheels on April 1st, and those will go through the month of April. So there's a little overlap there, but I think we'll be okay with that. We're trying to get enough of materials, and I've been checking into that, and I'm meeting with Legia Mole at the chamber tomorrow to try to, get word out. I might try to meet with Scott Swanson also to get word out that, we really do need more volunteers. That's probably our biggest issue, is to try to get more volunteers. And we also plan to be involved in the Arbor Day event, have a little booth set up there so that, we can get our presence out there. That's about it.
I'm glad to hear you plan on being there, because I was going to actually bring that up to see if we couldn't help get you some volunteers that day.
Well, I personally won't be able to be there, but I'm trying to find other people on our committee that can be there.
Yeah.
So
Meeting.
is she going to be here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we I have a conflict, but I'm going to make sure everything's set up for it. So
Candy, if you need like tables, pop-ups just let me know and I'll make sure that we have it there. And
Okay.
then we can decide where to put the the booth at. So just let me know if you need
A
that. stuff.
pop-up, is that like a,
The cover, the tent.
yeah,
the
if it's raining, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no rain that day.
little-
Yeah, it's okay.
I know in the public beautification meeting that Public Works is going to commit a little bit more hours during when we do the closures on medians and all that to kind of help and make sure it's safe. But what I'm asking is, I know volunteers are an issue. Is there anything that we can do from the city side to maybe help with post or to kind of get that word out as well? Just
Candace, I have a question. I was at your meeting, so can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on for Alice?
We discussed it. Rose Pita was in charge. She's made flyers. I don't know if some of you, I've got extras here. She's made flyers and we could just, yeah, pass those around. She's trying to set up donations and GoFundMe for, they're trying to do a statue for Alice, a bronze statue. We talked a bit about the placement of it, and the consensus seemed to be Clover Park, so that when you come into town, you would see it. We haven't really pinpointed exactly where that'd be, but the actual statue and everything, they had guesstimated $40,000. I don't know if that's a realistic figure or not. But they were looking at statues in Joseph, Oregon has a lot of bronze statues up and down their street. And so I think that Rose will do some more research on that and the other discussion was about maybe putting in the meantime, since this will probably be a longer term project, to put a bench there that the city would make, because they have the capability of making a bench with a little plaque on it. So.
Hey, you got some redwood.
yeah, we've committed to making a bench
Yeah.
for the beautification.
So that would also go at Clover Park. And the only obstacle was that Dominique had said that there might eventually be some restructuring of the hill there at Clover, that there was a little bit of talk about that. So, all of this is kind of in the works.
So yesterday, my beautician, her daughter did a lot of work with Alice. Alice took care of her and stuff at the end in yard work. But she told me that Clover Park, Alice loved that park. That was like her thing, was that park. So that just might, when we make a decision where that's going to go, just to throw that out there, that would be good.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted, like I said, I went to the meeting. So I encouraged them to, like the city has a Facebook page for things going on in the city. And that I think you guys were maybe going to try to talk to Adam. Adam doesn't have a lot to do, but because Candace said she doesn't do Facebook. And so some way to get more information out besides going to Scott and, different things to get, have them show what they're doing.
If they get me that information, I can run it by our executive team. Everything that I post has to be approved. I don't have the power to make that decision.
Okay.
But the post for Alice has already been posted.
I did actually look at that. I can look on Facebook. Yeah. So you're Adam. I'm Candace. I'll get in touch with you. Yes. Thank you.
Awesome.
A quick question. So have you considered doing the planting or the weeding on a weekend? So like on a Saturday, so we can get youth involvement? Or would it be too dangerous being on the road?
We have not. The only youth involvement that I have thought about was with the Veterans Memorial, maybe talking to the principal at Hawthorne School to see if those kids would be able to walk down to that area to do some volunteer work. They used to do that, I'm told, and it has been a long time. It was before the pandemic that happened. So maybe that. I don't know. We hadn't really talked about Saturdays at all. We talked about Friday because like Rebecca said she could help on a Friday. Um, that's something maybe the committee should talk about. Thank
Craig,
you.
You had a,
Yeah, the medians, we have a permit with ODOT that allows us within a certain time frame, and we have to stay excluded from busy traffic times. And so that's why we have chosen Tuesdays after the 8 o'clock rush hour. I think we set it up about 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, and then it goes for a couple hours before midday. And the end of the day, we tear it down. And so that has to occur during the week, based on our permit, but also our staff does all the traffic control and monitoring because we're trained. Now, with that said, looking on the safety side of things, I don't really think we want kids in the street. And so I'll just say the medians are probably off limits from my perspective. But you can talk about, maybe a park or an entrance into the city, Clover Park. And so just those limitations are some of the things that we deal with Public Works.
Thank you.
Good to know. Yeah. Thank you, Candace. Appreciate the information.
Mhm.
All right, let's move on down to the Arbor Day event. So a couple notes. I did finally yesterday get a link up with Pacific Power, and he said that they will, well, I haven't communicated with the outreach team, but he said that's what they do. So we'll probably have a Pacific Power outreach team at the event. I told him we could probably add that to our flyer, at least their name on it, that they're going to be there, but I wanted to wait until I got the,
So what
yes.
is their role? What are they going to be doing there?
the table where they
The
talk about
tree
trees
education?
and- Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Safety, power line safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Which lines to grab and which ones not to. Important stuff. Yeah, so I got that finally. It took a long time to get the link up to happen. So that did go down. Also this year, I plan on buying hot dogs again and doing the free hot dogs and drinks for the people that attend. So if we could maybe put that down there with the free seedlings,
Mhm.
while supplies last, same thing.
The other one had it on there, but I wasn't sure. I hadn't asked you yet if we
Yeah.
were going to do that. So,
Yep.
okay, I'll add that.
Yeah, that seems to be a big draw.
That was.
Yeah, they like food. So, and Nancy, you weren't here last week, so you got voluntold to get the tic-tac-toe
Okay.
and the parachute again.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Are we going to do another mobile disc golf course?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I put down our events will be the same that I remember from last year. We'll do the, I still call it Frisbee, disc
Mhm.
golf around. So it's the redneck disc golf version. Seemed to be pretty popular last year. I was happy people were out doing it. I'm assuming you still have the cornhole game that we could borrow. I don't think we need to get 3 of them this year. I think one's probably plenty. Just from paying attention last year, that wasn't a constant going on. So maybe if we narrow it down, of course, Nancy with the big tic-tac-toe and the parachute game. And I still think I have all the ropes for the rope tac-toe that the people run back and forth with. I don't recall any other games. Is that correct?
I think that was it.
I had the tabletop Jenga. I'll bring that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Jenga. And then at 11 o'clock that morning, the committee will meet and destroy the ivy that's growing on the hillside.
The same morning?
Yeah, because if we get there at 11, tear down the ivy, which it won't take long. I went and looked at it. And I also, today we need to vote on stopping Deb from looking at Ivy everywhere else in the city.
No, it's important.
I got some of these pulled.
Yeah. She sent me really ugly looking ivy pole that needs to happen up on South Hills Trail. So we'll have to plan that one out. But that's pretty big. So anyways, yeah, if we meet at 11, pull the ivy down, gives us time to wash up and then set up for the event.
You still want the event 2 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Unless somebody has opposed to 2 to 4. Oh, okay. And you have some bushes for the event?
I forgot your pots.
Oh,
I will get them to you.
okay.
I knew I was forgetting something this morning.
I have a variety of iris and penstemon and lavender and Christmas roses, maybe. Canna lilies. I have a variety. If the beautification committee, if you all have any extra items in your gardens that you want to pot up, that's kind of what I've been poking around my garden doing to give items away at the Arbor Day event. So I have a few tree seedlings. I think I've got one Kusa dogwood and one red bud. I just need to see how they look after winter. Nothing's budding out yet.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give away dead stuff.
Yeah.
So I should have a variety of things. And if anybody else has any to contribute, that would
I was telling Wally we could have Ivy starts.
be. No ivy starts. No ivy starts.
And I will grab those and I'll call you.
Yeah, give
And
me a
just get
call
those
and I'll
ivy.
stop by and get them. Because
I have a post-it note on my front door that says pots for Lena.
I brought a post-it note with me.
No,
No,
I
I
says, don't forget my hearing aid too, and I do it all the time, so.
okay. No, appreciate that since I'm running out of pots to put things in. So
If you need more, I think I haven't thrown all of them away that my wife has hoarded.
I happen to have a neighbor, Patty Hulk, that has a whole lot of pots. I could email her and ask her if she would donate them to you.
and that's
Either
fine.
way.
I don't need a lot, just kind of some smaller ones for some smaller perennials and things. So I think I've used all mine up over the past few years.
And that's the size I have there about.
That would probably work out great. Just give me a call and
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. Sorry.
So Angela, are the flyers, are those going to be out around town or do you need them posted out around town?
If you want to post them around town, we're gonna post, I will add the extra information on it and then I'll send them out. And if you want printed copies, I can print some and have
I
them.
say some of
but
the
I'll get the
businesses.
edits done on
Yeah.
there first. So
String them around.
Like
I'll
we
let
did
you know
last
when I
year.
have them done.
And I'm assuming I'll hear back from Pacific Power in the next day or so.
Okay.
So we'll go from there. I didn't hear, I wasn't available at the tree planting. Everything went
Yep.
as it was supposed to. Trees are in the ground. Nobody's ripped the bark off them yet. That's a good thing.
perfect timing because the the buds were swelling. So perfect timing. They should bloom with the other ones.
So for the Arbor Day event, I would recommend we choose one of them to do our celebration around.
Yeah.
That way, whichever one you guys choose, and then that way we have that for the Tree City. So
And I'll prep you kind of the information about the trees we planted.
Yeah.
Why, and
Right.
and then we can kind of go from there about how to celebrate.
Sure.
But I think the big thing is why did we plant,
Yeah.
so early?
Okay.
So
And do you know, or has it been asked or put on Jason's calendar to see if he would be available that day to attend the meeting?
I have not asked him. I will do that because
Okay.
I kind of forgot we do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will ask him.
Yep. It'd be good to see him there if he's available. He's got a lot going on. I don't know why, but he does.
So I know we're going to have information about plants and things like that, but are we okay with our parks calendar? I mean brochure?
Oh, yes.
Okay, we have
Yes.
enough. All right.
I'll
Yeah.
go verify, but I think we still have plenty. But
Yeah, because our theme is Arbor Day and Kids to Park Day. So we need to have kind of a big focus on getting outdoors. And then also we have our giveaways that are kind of the frisbees and the fun stuff for the park. So yeah, I got all of that. It's
Yep.
in my office. So whenever you guys are ready to grab it, we've got a meeting before our event. So I'll just get with you and we'll grab all that then.
Perfect. I think that takes care of the Arbor Day, unless somebody else has another thought on it.
Guaranteed weather.
Yep. I was nervous because
Hanging for kids.
it'll be raining the next evening, so it could pull forward.
Kind of cool for kids.
Okay, let's move on to the
Catch 'em
community
out at the
garden.
round
I
table.
see there's 3 that are left open that haven't been secured yet. And Adam has been kind enough to bring some pictures of Lebanon's.
Pretty big
Oh, there it
garden.
is.
That's a big garden. That really big garden.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
So the cool thing about Lebanon is over here where my cursor is,
Mhm.
this little shed, it's hard to see from this angle, but they have a couple dividers. So at the end of the season, that is a compost pile.
Hmm.
So when they have their tenants clean out their boxes, they have a spot on site that they can throw all the dead plants and then they compost it for the following year. And they have volunteers that go out and turn it over a few times throughout the winter.
Who maintains the gardens?
It's all volunteers. And there were a few people here this day. Nobody wanted to be in the picture, so they went and they hid. But their garden is not without its own problems too. They have actually way more problems there than we've had with ours with theft. People jumping the fence. The outside, kind of where I'm running the cursor right now, they put blueberry bushes for the community. And I guess as fast as they plant them, people steal the whole bush. In the last year, they've gone through 110 blueberry bushes, so they're no longer planting those. They have had an issue there, allegedly, with the homeless population in Lebanon who's mad that they feel locked out. And so they've been urinating through the fence on people's gardens. So it is nice looking, but it's not without its problems. They do have this security fence that was donated by a local business. The volunteers that I talked to said the total cost of this was about $110,000. And that's after donations.
Yeah.
But again, it is nice looking when it's nice, but it's not without its own fair share of problems.
So where's their water source come from is it?
I didn't actually see a water source there. The people that were there had water buckets in the back of their Toyota Tacoma, and they were bringing in like 5-gallon buckets of water. I'm sure there's probably water on site. I don't know if it's only turned on at certain times. I didn't see any water. Like I said, this is open. It looks like a storage shed over here, but it's actually where they can throw their compost at.
Greg.
There is a restroom on site as well, right outside the
Yeah,
fence line.
over this building
So
right
there is
here.
water and sewer on site, and I would imagine they would have had to brought water. onto that
Yeah,
site. So, yeah.
I would guess there's water in there. I just didn't see it. But yeah, over here in the corner is the restroom.
So how do people sign up to do their?
The exact same way as
They do.
us. They show up in person and sign a lease at their city hall.
So that's That is really neat looking.
Mhm.
I think that ours was going to be much more scaled down version that we had talked about.
Their boxes are actually smaller than ours as well. Their plots are about half the size of ours.
Yeah, that's because it's Lebanon and we're Sweet Home. Let's keep that straight. Sean, could you give me just give us all just a quick brief of what we talked about? Because you've actually seen either you or Dominic the layout for some fruit bushes and small trees there.
I'm done. To do it.
Did you have to
Or
speak?
both of you.
We don't really have a layout, just the idea came out about possibly fruit trees, apple, peaches, whatever. But nothing has been designed yet.
We have people online. They can't hear you.
They can hear me.
Please use your microphone. We have people online.
Okay,
So, yeah, nothing.
you didn't like but just an idea of they would be on if you're facing Strawberry Park, that area would be on the right-hand side, kind of running away from the parking area.
Yeah, well, that's where the garden is now. on the
Yeah,
right
and then
side.
just continuation.
Possibly, or even the fruit trees go on the other side. It would just depend on what somebody came up with a plan
Right,
to do.
okay,
So just to remind everybody, it is a wetland.
Yeah.
And so there has to be, we do have a surveyor that's been doing each one of our properties, our parks, wetland delineation. I don't think he's gotten to Strawberry Park yet. But every single one of our properties is being delineated. So that's before we can do too much ground disturbance, that has to get done. So it is being worked on. I just don't know what his schedule is. I
Yeah.
just don't know where he's at in the process yet.
yeah, based off our typical, how fast things happen, I'm assuming this is a 26 project, so
Yeah.
I just think if we don't start talking about it, we
Mhm.
won't get there. And to get it laid out, of how we would put in some bushes, and I'm surprised that they even thought about putting blueberry bushes outside the fence at the place, because I know that I have blueberry bushes in my garden, which has a 12-foot fence around it, and I put 2 on the outside, and the deer ravaged those instantly. And I had to put more fencing up to keep them out. So just for whatever it's worth, something we need to think about there when we plant something that I'm sure there's deer there.
Yeah, that was my question. Are there deer in Strawberry? I mean,
They're everywhere.
there's a couple that hang out there in the city. Yeah.
Rabbits.
Yeah.
So the boxes, the raised beds, community garden, does the community just pick out a box and they plant stuff in it? Or, I mean, how's that part work? The raised bed part?
So for ours, they come in and we have a lease that they have to sign.
Okay.
And that is an agreement that they're going to take care of it. And at that point, it's first come, first serve. So right now, where we have 3 left, we have a map. We have 12 beds, I think, total this year, 12 or 14.
So they lease a raised.
12, right? And so they lease one box.
and
We
then-
have no maximum. So
Oh,
we
okay.
have a few people that get 2 side by side.
And so
um,
then after they lease it, they just put whatever they want in it, tomato
Yep.
plants, cucumbers, whatever.
Yep.
And raise it. So what's it cost on the lease on
It's
the?
$30 a year, and that
Okay.
includes the water. There is water on site, and we don't charge extra for that.
So back to the trees, don't we have some fruit trees there that were nasty before, like a apple tree, or I don't know, I'm looking at you guys.
We just had the problem that nothing got picked, fell to the ground, it's covered the area in wasps when you went out there.
Yeah.
Or I should
I
say,
remember
when I
that.
went out there doing my tree inventory, there was a lot of swatting going on. Not the one where I call the police, but trying to keep them away from me. Not
Is
the
that-
police, but the
Is that
wasps.
tree still there?
Yes,
Yes, there's 2 apple trees on the east side of the park. They're mature, actually pretty old and in rough shape. They need like a heavy pruning.
yeah.
Yeah, they're there. And they do still produce really good
So are the apples there for people to just pick?
Yeah, they've been open in the park forever. So yeah, it would be something worth looking at. I probably can't legally prune anything in the park, and I have so many fruit trees to prune of my own that are not looking like they're going to get pruned again. So I notice they still produce fruit, whether they get pruned or not. But I know they get a lot bigger fruit when they're pruned back. So, okay, well, we'll continue to move on that.
One more idea for folks to think about. So one of the ideas with adding fruit trees is there's such a variety of small dwarf fruit trees, columnar apple trees, things that don't get big and tall, and you could almost do a raised bed situation for them and plumb in some drip line irrigation for them. So you could go smaller with your fruit trees rather than having, full size fruit trees that you have to worry about pruning every year.
Angela, can you explain you can't turn dirt in, currently, I don't personally know the deal with the wetlands and putting in a tree or a bush.
Putting in, well, especially part of it's native versus, ornamental type thing
Yeah.
too. It's just ground disturbance. So Department of State Lands, it's 50 cubic feet or 50 cubic yards. I can't remember. You have to have it's called a fill and grade permit, but it's for moving the soil. But you also have to be careful because there has been talks because of the drainage that comes in there. So planning around that and getting this delineation done will show kind of where that drainage happens to settle. There has been talks, and this goes all the way back to when I was actually on the Watershed Council, to creating some sort of, you can do like a retention pond type thing, but it's also a decorative pond to help with that water drainage and then putting native plants around it. So that was a plan that was designed years ago, long before I came here. But, and it's just, other things have taken priority, but it is a design to think about, but we need to wait. We can't do anything until we get the delineation back to see how things are actually draining in that park for, current times.
Yeah.
So
it's just good to know.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more of a planting a tree is probably not going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just more if you plant a tree and then it gets flooded and, you don't want to, trees that aren't great with massive water all the time. You just
Right.
want to make sure that we're planting in proper places. So.
Yep. Okay, thanks. Anything else on the community garden? Nope. All right, let's move on to Sankey Park Phase 3.
All right, I have some not so great news. Got the construction bid totals back and the engineering totals back. So our original grant project, total project cost was $295,993. The 60% grant compared to our match, we were going to get $177.80. The cost estimate that came back from our engineers, including engineering and everything, came back at $553,644.80. So you reduce the amount that we were originally going to get from the grant, and that still leaves us reliable to $376,564.
Crazy.
So right now, staff is looking at, and that quote is actually taking the bandstand community center out.
Yeah.
That's a price for just the path and the trail and the engineering and the sidewalk. So staff we've been having discussions about how we can move forward with this, different funding options. I'm also going to talk to OPRD. We've discussed possibly phasing, seeing how we can do this. So, and as you can see, my spreadsheet, putting it all together, trying to figure out what pots of money we may be able to use. And then I'm going to have a discussion with our funders to see. I wanted to have some options first and just say, this is what we're thinking. What would you allow us to do? I don't want to walk away in poor standing because we have a good reputation with these grants. And so I would like to try to do something, but we've been discussing in meetings of how we're going to move forward because we do not have, we barely had the original 118,000. So
Right.
having to come up with 376,000 is not going to be feasible. So we've been talking about what we can do internally, parts of, and the engineers break down every single thing. So there's some of that we could pull out and do ourselves, but it's still a matter of the funding for it. So it's not horrible news. It's just we kind of have to take a step back. And so we won't be looking at many other projects until we can figure this one out, because this is a priority. We already have a grant. We already have to figure this one out. So any other park projects, yes, let's keep planning. But just so you're all aware, there's probably not going to be any move forward with any other projects until we can figure out how to finish this one. So that's the update.
Was there good news?
No. Believe me, when I saw that, I instantly panicked. I literally about had a meltdown in my office. So,
Angela, do you have, is it just one engineering firm you go to?
it was bid. We did a bid. We did a bid process for the engineer. So it was all, we sent out a RFP. Thank you. I was like, what is the acronym? We sent out an RFP, and this is the engineers that were chosen based on that RFP. So so that whole process, and our next stage was to go out to bid for the construction part of it, but we don't have the funding for that part of it yet. And we've already, engineering alone is 177,000, and we've already paid them 44,000.
Wow.
So that's the other part of it. So some of the stuff, some of the itemized tasks for the engineers, we could actually pull out, and our staff could actually do some of it. So that's what we're kind of working out to figure out. And now granted, it is an ADA path, and it does, all the engineering has to be done. We don't have all the, I requested some specification documents from them so we can actually look at kind of the retaining wall specs, but I mean, it's going to take more consultants than it is internal staff to do this one. So, which is unfortunate, but it's the state of how things are.
Yep.
So we're still going to move forward. How, and might have to space this out a little bit farther than what we had originally planned. So just wanted to let you all know.
Yep.
So I don't want to do any more of these spreadsheets because I hate numbers. But when I panicked, I had to break everything down. So, and this is, I mean, I have sheets and sheets from the engineers of what everything is going to cost. So
Right.
So that's where we're at.
Greg, did you have any great thoughts? No, it's just ugly.
No, I think this is an example of just how prices are rising everywhere. And, there's a lot of other factors that come and play with these contractors. So when you put something out to bid, you think you have estimates, and then your estimates come back higher. So it's just kind of a volatile environment. And it's not just this project, it's projects all the way across, and even supply chain. I've even heard in certain situations where contractors are ordering certain parts, and because there's such long lead times that the vendors won't even guarantee the price, but they still need the parts. And so it's just kind of a volatile market right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can leave the eggs in it for right now then, and we'll see if it recovers.
Just have to piecemeal it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
And as soon as we get this worked out, like I said, I have to work it out with OPRD really soon. They've been great and very patient, knowing that we're going through this process, and just, transition of staff and different things. They've been absolutely great. So I'm just one that I like to come up with solutions if I can, even though they may not choose any of those solutions, but it's still, this is what we can do right now. And then hopefully maybe one of them they'll be okay with. If not, they can give us direction of what we can do so that we don't lose the grant, but we can still kind of move forward.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for the update.
Mhm.
Even though I don't feel good about it.
Me neither.
Whittle Bridge outreach. I did not go up and talk to them. It's the middle of the ski season. I've been busy and I haven't driven past Mill City. I really thought I would have by now, because normally I get snowed out of Tombstone Pass and I have to take the long way around, and that just hasn't happened. So, plus I don't think we're in a big rush on it, because we're kind of busy with everything else as I've been directed. So, I will get up there and physically talk to them and visit with them and see what they think. Like I said, talking to them over the phone didn't get anywhere, which I get that. So I'll go up there in my outfit and visit with them and see how they're doing. So, before we get to new business, I have a one item I need to close out, the Department of Ag grant. So you'd sent me an email to follow up on it. The individual he might have been a little overexcited to begin with. And currently, especially in today's state, he's not sure if there's any money available anywhere for anything.
Okay.
So I'll continue to follow up, but that was a night and day conversation difference. So we'll have to just, yeah, yep. So I just wanted to follow up on that because that's something else that I had out there. So I don't know what that is. So the extra plants, I'll call it.
Oh, well, okay. So we can remove this now. I forgot I left that on there. What it was is South San Diego Watershed Council had a whole lot of extra plants.
Oh.
Tyler had called me, said that they were going to pick them up and put them in the fridge, asked if we wanted any, he didn't want to leave them in their fridge for very long. Called me back 2 days later and said someone else already grabbed them. So
Okay.
we can scratch that off there. So we no longer have extra plants. So.
Okay.
So I want to just back up for a second for Weddle Bridge. You can tell me it's none of my business if you want to, but so I'm always thinking about the Jamboree. So last 2 years, we've had to have, 2 lines going this way, no more people on the bridge than is allowed. So I don't know if council, like I said, might not be my business to even ask these questions right now, but
Well,
so what are we going to do?
we'll have to keep doing the same thing. And if it gets to a point where the bridge gets any worse, then we're going to have to shut the bridge down and people are going to have to go around. So
Okay.
I have made them aware of that.
Okay.
I made them aware of that last year when we were talking about having to put those engineers. There's nothing we can do unless someone wants to step up and, unless they want to step up or someone else wants to step up and give us all the money. It's going to be a lot like this project.
Mhm.
Engineering is probably going to come in, just the engineering is probably going to come in pretty high to do it. There's some small tasks that we can do in the meantime, but it's still, we have some funds, but we don't have a lot to get too far.
Right.
And so trying to work out the Sankey Park plan first, but even the parts that we have, the money that we have is not going to cover much. So that's kind of the reality of it right now. So unfortunately.
So next week I'm going to go to a Shedig board meeting. I'm not on the board, but I'm a member of Shedig, and I told everybody it's $10 a year, you guys. So it's coming up next week. But I'm going to probably bring that up about the bridge. Just going to be bold and say, what can you guys do to help us?
I can tell you I have asked before. So.
Well, when I'm sitting there with the whole board members, all the board, maybe it'll be a little different. I mean, I have nothing negative to say about the Jamboree, but, I just know that the bridge needs to be fixed.
Maybe we start with hiring a contracting crew to tear it down.
Yeah.
And when people get excited like they did back in the early 1900s, maybe they'll pitch in the money to fix it like they did back then.
Gosh.
I'm not hiring that crew, but if somebody else wants to jump in there. I don't think it'll work now.
Probably not.
All right.
Okay. Any other new business?
I have a question back on our pavilion for the park and some of these structures. We looked at different designs and we had looked at a package deal, but I remember when I went out looking for donations and that, the biggest thing timber companies come back with me is, I'll give you logs. So it makes me rethink back, when that pavilion was originally put in that park, it was logs, and that thing stood from 1938 till just a few years ago. If companies are willing to give us logs and we rethink our design to utilize sort of a log structure, what are the hurdles that we need to get through? I know there's going to be an engineering component there. They're going to have to say it's going to be this size, this long, or whatever. Is that still a possibility? Because I think if we went back and looked at the design of this thing and incorporated logs, then
Logs have never been taken out of it. It's the concern was the old bandstand was prone to dry rot
Sure.
and the weather. And so having an entire log structure, we didn't want to go back to that same thing. It's just the whole maintenance of it and keeping up on it because of our weather. Logs have never been taken out as a non-option. It was just having a design that would work, that could be open, have electricity in it. But originally, when we first started talking about this, it was the dry rot and the weather, and
Sure.
trying to make at least maybe even the base of it not be wood. Or, so we had never gotten that far
Because
because
I-
we were still looking at things.
Because when
but-
I look at it, I was on the financial board to raise money for the new clinic. That whole front end is wood structure. The Atlas Cascade Timber Company provided all those timbers and milled for that project. I'm thinking if we can do the same, replicate it in a way with a design that utilizes today's techniques for preserving wood and cover to protect it, then that's all part of the deal.
The engineering is the
That's
expensive
right.
part.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna have to get a structural engineer to look at that design, how it's put together with hold downs, and then put his stamp on it that he's gonna say that it's gonna work.
The building code has changed substantially from when the last stage was there. So you have to meet all current Oregon building code
Sure, I understand
And-
that.
to have that part engineered. The materials is the cheap part. It's the engineering and the stamp is 5x material cost typically. As we found out with this go around,
Yeah.
that the engineering is
Engineering.
the exorbitant expense.
So would that be the group we would talk to first? Just ask them the question as to what would be needed?
I think at this part, we have to just figure out how to even get the paths in before we even consider the bandstand, because that's the ADA component, which scored higher. Is that correct, Angela?
Yes.
Well, I just think of the hurdles that's in front of us, not lose sight of that opportunity
Right.
for someone like
We
Yes.
It's still
Yes,
on,
yeah.
it's still on a
It's
priority.
still on
list.
the
It's
list.
still on the priority list. We just, this project and another one I'm looking at, engineering has been pretty much a kind of a hurdle. Just because we have to have the engineering. So once we pay for the engineering, then the cost of the materials comes in second. So, which is the same thing with Weddell Bridge, which is the same thing with this. And so it is still on the priority list, and any design it's still open for any kind of design. It's just a matter of funding is what it comes down to. It's the funding part of it. And it's just making sure that we have a design that's going to last, work with the park designs the way that we're designing it. And so, I mean, even the wood structures that you guys went and looked at, and even the ideas of having the sails, I mean, they're all great. And we could start out with a more simplistic one to begin with, and then build a more
So we
sturdy one
really need to
later.
come back and look at our phase 3 and see
Yeah.
at what stage of stage 3 we want to do.
That's what
Break it
Angela
down in
was-
small bites.
That's what Angela was talking about with phasing phase 3. And as far as staying in good standing with this grant, there were certain areas of the project that scored higher. And that's the sidewalk, the pathway, the ADA accessibility, not the bandstand.
That's what Yeah, unfortunately, they do go by a point system. And so that's kind of when we went to go revise the grant, that's what we went with. We went with the parts of it that were the highest points. And that's how we determined what to keep for this phase. But in our master parks plan, in all of our lists, that is still a priority. Right now, though, the bridge takes more priority than a bandstand. So it's not off the list by any means.
No, I just think of, like I
Mhm.
said, like we have timber companies here that, such as Cascade Timber, who has been a big support. They have engineers.
But that has to be an RFP process, so we can't
And-
just hire an engineer. We also have our own staff
Yeah.
engineers, so.
But I'm thinking, don't lose sight of that opportunity.
When we put out the RFP for the last go around, they were just as welcome as everybody else to bid.
So unfortunately, I had time to think while you guys were talking about that. Usually never a good thing, but I'm pretty sure if you had an engineer that did it pro bono, who's a structural
Do
engineer,
that. Can we even do that?
You can, because we could put something in the park that somebody bought and installed for us.
It would still have to follow the procurement policy though. So we couldn't just,
Yeah, you could put it out there and he can post a pro bono, and then you would be less than intelligent not to select the guy that offered to do it for free, right?
I don't know how that works since it's already been posted and the RFP has already gone out.
Sure, things can be. Anyways, I know one, and he's a very tight friend of mine who recently he hasn't been an engineer for a while, but he now has a lot of extra time on his hands. Not today, but in the future. And I know somebody who can design it as it needs to be built. And then he reviews and stamps, because that's been done. So just food for thought. I know that can happen. Well, I haven't asked him yet. He might tell me to pound sand, but
So, and I want you all to know that staff does hear you about this, and we do know that this is a priority, but we have to take a step back. This phase of Sankey Park has to get done, and the structural integrity of Weddell Bridge also has to, I mean, we can't do everything at once, and if we have to prioritize, you know, staff, we've already determined that because we have structural things, we have things in the works. So I want you to know that we do hear you and it is a priority, but we also have to prioritize our staff time and, you know, trying to find funding right now. Funding's getting more difficult because programs are being canceled. And so we don't have some of the funding options that we had before. And so, or we're losing them, or they're restructuring or reprioritizing. And so we're all gritting our teeth a little bit, wondering how we're going to finish some of this stuff. And so I just want you all to know that I do care about this. We all do care about this, and we want to see this get done. It's just right now, I don't want to panic anymore.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit in panic mode when it comes to funding these things right now. So, and
just for reference, none of what I was saying had anything to do with any time soon.
I know,
I'm just throwing it out there that it just dawned on me that we did this once already, not we here, but we as in me and others, once in another place. So I know it can happen. There's probably a lot of hoops to get through to get there, but just be aware there's another possibility out
and
there.
that's good to note. I mean, it's good to note when we get to that point. So
Just trying to remove some of the hoops.
Yeah. I don't like basketball. So any others? Amber's ready to quit now after hearing all this? No?
she's not allowed.
So I'm going to bring up the stupid t-shirt thing again. Anyway, I have a friend that makes shirts, so I'm just going to throw this out to the group. If we found a shirt, would you be willing to pay for it yourself? And then would the city, can you give the logo for this person to print it?
We would have to talk to Cecily and Jason about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have Gateway does our logos for us now. Does the embroidery for us now. So yeah, we'd have to just.
I know before, Adam said he doesn't even have a shirt with a logo on it. I know he has a sweatshirt with a logo on it. So I don't know. I just think it looks so much better. And I know Candace, I was telling her too, because they've talked before about having beautification t-shirts. It just looks better when you're out in public representing what you do. Thought.
I have no problem paying for one.
Yeah, they're not that expensive. We would just have to have somebody print on it. So, but you go to Gateway, so she has that.
Well, we have to get permission for you all to put.
I understand.
We have some rules about use of city logo, so we would just have to have permission from Jason and Cecily, and then there would probably be, I would guess, some sort of agreement signed by everybody that had it, that you agreed to the rules.
Yeah, well, when we got our shirts before and our jackets, Angela told us we couldn't wear them out any place besides where we were doing our event.
That's some of the stuff that's
And
involved.
we
You can't wear them to go
we
to
understand
groceries, but if you're operating for the city at Arbor Day, that would be the appropriate use. So we can absolutely talk to city manager and
Okay.
And your original ones, I think if I remember, have the logo and it does say Park and Tree Committee on the bottom.
Yeah.
It doesn't say City of Sweet Home. It
No.
says Park and
Right.
Tree Committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I remember.
I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, if the money's the issue, I mean, I'll probably even pay for a couple of people if they need it, but it's just, like I told you before, mine's got bleach stains on it, it's getting warmer weather. I don't want to wear it anymore. Because that to me is worse, wearing something that doesn't look nice. I thought.
I know the people at the Bohemian really liked mine, so. All right. I believe we have reached the end of our meeting on a positive note. So thank you for attending the March 19th, 2025 Sweet Home Park and Tree Committee meeting, along with our beautification committee. Thank you. And this concludes our meeting.
Thank you.
Right.
Turn that on.